Good afternoon and Assalamu alaikum. Auzubillah minash shaitani rajim. Bismillah rahman rahim. Last night was the 27th of the July, and I was in my judicial room while I was observing the permanent declined guardian cases while observing all of the reciprocate areas of the constitutional degrees, whereby when I just considered a lot of the judicial insights and the digital amounts of the decretal non-capacitated observation, I come up with the next thought that the central divisional areas of the Lahore, especially after the reproduction issue, these issues should have been acknowledged by the central litigant in guardian ad litem interest. First of all, I was of the opinion that in the Lahore High Court and within the domains of the Supreme High Court, the individuals are and were used as to the configurement or configured areas of the basic rules under the Article 199, whereof when I just considered all these obligations, offshore, limited, transitional, non-apparent, decretal areas, I just observed that the wrong depiction of the facts after filing of the Article 199 is a supreme error in the Supreme Judicial Panels and in the reciprocating area of the same nowadays. Thereby, when I just configured that the ultimate reproduction minus istaqate hamal cases, I observed in the Pakistan it is a settled and non-settled principle as well that the common citizens in the presidential non-existence of the same often of the times are in the positions not as to compile the problems of the females, but 90% of the same in fact are in the positions to depict the over reproduction of the females while using the females houses and homes in the Pakistan. And after that such males are found as to having the guardians cases at litem 1 under the code of the criminal procedure section 164 CRPC. And I, as so many times earlier to this judicial order while video confusion of mine, that the 95% of the Republicans are trying to drag the non-political, non-geopolitical parties in the frame lines and the yardsticks of the Supreme Judicial Council. The question of the civil turbulent area, when I configured by myself after just prenderization of the lot of years into the reciprocate area of the multiple social disordered transitional non-apparent one frame line yardsticks. Thereby, the police order 2002, I have to observe those factors by myself and I just observe the lines of the same. The cases of the de facto children in the existence of the pre existent area of the Republicans' non geo transitional matters come up with the fault come up with the fault in the public sector. Thereafter, when I just take the cognizance of the Republicans by myself under the constitutional mandate of mine, I just observed that the Pakistani, Central Indians, and the Middle East individuals, 98% of they just raise the price hike culture while just stalking their females in the name of the selective religion under the pretext of the same. They are found in this prime social offense in my judicial operative code, so I'm not observing and I'm converting the electronic transaction order while the transaction 2 clause N and M that the Republicans, their affidavits have and were only be charged if they have the bank accounts in the balance of convenience. And if such females and males do not have the sufficient amount in their bank accounts today, I'm pronouncing this judgment because of the disapproved area of the judgments by the subordinate panels in the Supreme Judicial Council in the Lahore High Court after just observing myself that if the common civil citizens under the immoralities of their females, under the depiction of their mal-groomed females. When I just observed that those females and the males were have are acquired somehow the 99% numbers from the ancestrals at default of the same in the subject of the scientific transitional non-observed area. Therefore, I should take my teeth first. Therefore, I come up with the next thought automatically that the female's reproduction issue in the Pakistan is a production of secondary and primary person, and somehow their neglected parents are trying to have their possession under the adverse possession of the property of the third person. So this is the baseline local commission law report while I'm just observing myself into the dictum of the common masses transitional disordered individuals in the Pakistan. When I just observed that the 95% of them are not in the positions to observe the rest of the same, therefore, what is being observed by the remainder? When I just multiply the rest of and the remainder, the question becomes an automated thought as an outstanding area. The constitutional issue in the Pakistan might be self-fabricated, might be self-explanatory, while the combinatory issues of the same in the object lines of the civil, transitional and translated Urdu translations could not be observed by anyone, because when I figured out that the Pakistanis are not in the compilatory moods of the Urdu translations, therefore they are using the electronic devices these days, digital. Thereby, I just observed that to confine those unsettled precedents in custom in the retroactive ruled out precedents. In the same depiction of the mathematical, customized, non practical narrative of the subordinate judgments, the guardian courts are not in the positions to observe the rest of the same, in fact, sip by sip. The question I just always take by myself under my slogan, without even having the black coat, it is not mandatory to wear the black coat or the pink coat or the ties. The issue is that you have to and you should relocate your senses to frame the public issues. When the Pakistanis were found during the 3 constructive years as to reproduction of the females and males, and all of them are found as to raising a voice that they just want the maintenance order, maintenance certificates, why should courts provide the same in the subject of the females' negligence? This is my aggressive question, which should have been acknowledged by the same. When I just observe all of such a series of the criminal activities under the principal depiction of the criminals in association with their males and females and the other gender as well, then the question is an objected line that the females of the Pakistan are always in the hurry to have a dick. This is the issue of the Pakistani female. That during the non-disposal of having dick intake, dick outtake, the Pakistani females are trying to convince the remainder siblings that the because dick intake is too much expensive. Now there is a next phraseology in the Pakistan that after charging out of the pussies of the Pakistani females by their vagabond approved criminal males in association with their relations restoration order under the family suits, such females are found as to just selling their properties in spite of just having of a dick. This is the level of the Pakistani bastard female criminal. That's why I'm not willing to have any bastard Pakistani criminal female. Any Pakistani born Pakistani criminal Pakistani female, I'm not willing to understand, because she is always just Pakistani females always want dick, and she doesn't know how to have the relocation of the proper reconciled area of the children in the birth ratio, the Pakistani female doesn't know this fact. She is always ready to fuck around all the elements, and when you just ask the same to have the foundation to render your objectives, the same bastard criminal Pakistani female would be found raising the burden to the surrounding in the facts. That's the way I consider Pakistani females over my toes. The question with the concept of the ultimate reproduction of the malified intention of the Pakistani females. I'm Pakistani. Why I'm saying this? Because I have had decades of exposure in the public sector. That's why I'm just renderized myself. And the bastard religious individuals, females, both sectors are repatriation into the addictions of the sexual intake, outtake, and all other reciprocating areas are not in the lines of the observation of the same. And this unsettled principles of the dick in charge by the Pakistanis inside their houses, outside the offices, is an alarming question, which is Pakistani is not in the positions to observe the same in fact. So I just get my shoes to let them aware of the non-transitional parameters of the same in object lines. When the females of the Pakistans are in the position of the dick in chair intake, and there is a human trafficking ordinance, and I'm the international level of advocate of the same, that I'll apply over the whole of the Lahore divisional benches that uh, the Pakistanis males and females shall have to prove that how much and how long those females were found as to having the dicks inside their pussies before they have to write. This is my concurrent judgment during the day 28 July, that every Pakistani female who just wants a justice from the guardian judge, applied one from the Lahore High Court, such female have to write that how many dicks she have taken inside her pussy before she is coming in the High Court, and what was the reason that those dicks were not into the again in the same pussy. These were the lines which I just acknowledge. After that, I'll accommodate the Lahore High Court how to renderize the laws, because the Republicans consider themselves to be very pious, generous. I'm not considering any Pakistani bastards to provide them sufficient amount anything, nothing to them, because the males are always saying that the females wants dick intake. I'm self-observing these questions that the Pakistani females in the Supreme Judicial Council next to the Lahore High Court always raise the foundations that such females want 10 shots, 20 shots after reproduction of the 20 or 10 males. These females of the idiot ideology under the constitutional limited barons, I just observe these conditional order via the section 133 as well. So when I just observe the all of the subordinate females under the having the dick in charge and in dick outburst, and after that having no relocation of the DNA test under the section 164A, so Code of the Criminal Procedure 1898. The rest of the same object line in the public sector, and the Lahore High Court always just provide them sufficient amounts to render the public safety. But what about the common individual in interest in the central limited domains of the Pakistan is an objective line which is not being observed by the central litigant in interest. After renderization of a lot of females, such females of the low clauses always just praise the embezzled dick amounts in the public sector while contesting an electronic medium transitional unknown capacitated or capacitated. You can assume the general clauses or the code of the criminal procedure, family suits especially, and those dicks and pussies always stuck in the family suits as well. After the family suits struck area, such dicks and pussies wants the property of the third person. This is a prime social crime in Pakistan, which is raising day by day. And often of the times, it is also consumed that the Pakistanis are found as to using the tenant at will status during the dick in charge or dick or pussy outburst within their siblings' houses, homes, is so forth. You consume that and you thought that an advocate of the upper higher courts appears to be stupid, but that is not the truth. So the question which I just observed by myself after just observing any consideration of the globalized area of the Pakistani females and males and the other genders, the different species. I'm totally astonished to observe those non-geopolitical observations as well. The question, I don't know why it's sneezing. The questions within the phrases of the constitutional area, and when I just observe the areas of the additional session judges, the areas of the civil judges, the areas of the nadra judges, the area of the rent controller judges, the area of the upper judges, Lahore High Court judges, I'm talking about them. I'm observed that they're trying to provide the justice without having the concurrence of applied retroactive mathematical precedence, because the public is very disaster. The public is very dangerous in their houses, in their offices, and all of them all suddenly just provocate that they were not aware of the reproduction error as well. I said the Pakistanis are suffering from reproduction errors, and while observing the reproduction errors, such females are trying to convince the surrounding that the males are not in the compilatory positions of the modes of the basic amenities to life to the same subjected in the controversial lines. I have to invent a lot of judgments by myself in order to settle down. Customs in practical nexus sanctions. This is the level of me. So again, when I just considered a lot of the civil transitional areas of the electro-hydro area and the mechanic area of the science, I come up with the next thought automatically that the generation gap is apparent over the face of the record. So when there is a generation gap and everyone is beating around the bush of the price hike, there might be two sectors multiplied here again. That if any person consider that there is a price hike, it means that such person is not willing to render any sort of job or area of practice of the patients under the legal reforms of the working empowerment, and the children under the negative outburst of their families are trying to configure that those females are very perfect. But alas, no one is in the positions to observe that if the females are very perfect, then why a male is going to consider any female into its merit capacity in this Lahore High Court is a question. When a female, after just having the reproductive disorder by her parents' parental neglect, and that she offering to be get married, why she's offering? Because of the non geopolitical observation of the errors of the multiple relationships of the same subjected female, as my observation. In Pakistan, it is unsettled principle in the customs that after stroking multiple females by the malified individuals fully intentionally, such females are not in the position or in the moods to just settle away or set away herself from such male. But the same female is in the more that is called sexual intercourse, is transparent or non-transparent area. I'm just considering the public depiction. I'm not just critically observing any ones. So when the rest of the 95% of the population is trying to obligate their genetical properties through having no area of scientific methods, then why all of them suddenly try to convince the acquittal rates of the females? And their females are not being married because the highly skilled individuals would not have any bastard Pakistani female, because they consider the facts into the controversy in existence of the retroactive ruled out bastarded in the public gutters. During my exposure to the educational areas, when I just observed there as to observe the confinement of the females, that when I just observe the conditional areas of the medical practitioner, I just come up with the next area, that the females are not in the compiled position of the lawful area. And the next question, which I just observed by myself, when I just observed the chartered accountants, those females were also not in the compilatory area, mode of fiscal matters. Thereby, I just observed the next area, with that is called the conditional area of the engineering councils in the Pakistan. I just configured myself that the engineers in the Pakistan are not in the fit positions. All of the areas of the highly skilled individuals are trying to sell the females these days. and they are just trying to convince the perfect males that to have their females, because those females are very perfect in their lives. But a male like me is not willing to have a female which is born in Pakistan, which is born by Pakistani, which is born in foreign by Pakistani. I'm at that level now. I'm not willing to consider Pakistani blood into my relationship. I'm settle a precedent and custom to everyone. So if the Pakistanis are just producing over devalued females in Pakistan, I'm living in Pakistan and raising the burden to the shelters to the surrounding, and after that saying that there is a price hike and I'm not in the positions to observe the same. In fact, that is not going to be happen in any sector of the public, religious, or resolution disorder transitional area. I'm international level of practical lawyer. I don't need anyone. So the question is that if the public said that they were in the positions to observe the contestant in the public sector, and they just require the discovery quittal rates by themselves, I'm not reading any sort of the legislative orders. So you have to get insulted by this video when you watch it. The question is that when you just produce over devalued females, thereby why you just claim that there is a price hike. During the time of sexual intercourses, your females and your males are not saying that there is a price hike. But after just broke or just having the outvalued of the sexual illicit area, all of them just said that there is a price hike. This is a misconceptual myth in Pakistan, which the primary ingredients of the individuals are not in the compiled. And today, when you just observe that the Pakistani females are biased and partial to their sexual organs, but those females have no point of reflection in the area of scientific proved transitional area. I'm not trying to convince anyone. I'm just trying to convince myself that why the subjected of the republic, they are in the position of just raising the females, and after that just try to have the convincible thoughts of the other parties. This is my personal area of practice. So the questions of the civil turbulent disordered individuals in the Pakistan via the Code of the Criminal Procedure, Section 133, conditional order, public private nuisance, is hereby in the Supreme Judicial Council, and it is not going to be settled that there is any law which could curtail it. So stay blessed. This is the advanced comparative constitutional advocate. Today is 28th of the July, and it is Thursday.